listening to Jai Long, and this is Make Your Break. Whether you're a big-hearted creative or an aspiring entrepreneur, let's take action on your dreams, reconnecting you with your why and giving you the how. I'm here to dish out actionable mindset tips and fun industry secrets to help you blow up your biz. From eye-opening reality checks to motivational gold, no two episodes are ever the same. So tune in weekly, skip the FOMO, and let's dive into the deep together. Hey, Make Your Breakers, welcome back to the show. I want to ask you a quick question. Are you a little bit fed up and frustrated with Instagram? There's so many changes that chase all the time, right? So many different things happen, and in all the time, I need to make sure that I'm pivoting and adapting and learning the new strategies and changing and posting and doing everything else. Now, it does feel like a bit of a rat race on Instagram, and personally, I've been on there for so long and I've built so many different accounts, and it has been such a slog. Now, with one of the new changes that just came through, Instagram has actually changed to a subscription platform, and they're trying to verify everybody so you know that the person is legit and you know that they are the person that you think that they are. Now, they've rolled out a few different changes, and I wanted to get on an Instagram expert to help us out, demystify whether we should be adapting and paying for the platform and getting that blue tick, or whether we should not be doing that. Now, we've got Milou from Simply Media Advertising, and she runs a done-for-you agency. She's based in Texas, US, and she's got a lot of amazing clients and a lot of amazing insight, and I believe she is the right person to jam this out with so we can get the right strategy and have the right mindset and just start thinking about whether and coming up to our own conclusion whether this is the right thing for us to do or not. I also dive into whether she thinks Instagram's dead. Can we still make money from it? Can we still grow our business in that platform? Is it still good to be posting all the time? What kind of content should we be posting? And what is it like, or what does it look like to actually outsource our Instagram account to an agency? And is that the right decision for us to make as well? So before we get into today's episode, I just wanted to say a big thank you to those that have been leaving a review and helping us get to that 1,000 reviews mark that we've been trying and striving to get. Now, you know me, I'm trying to impact a lot of people. I've got big goals. There's a lot of amazing free content that we share on here, and we want to get it to the community, to the people that need it most. And for me, that is one of the most important things. So I want to read out a review right here that comes from Patty. 5-star review says, binge listen worthy. So I just recently discovered Jai's podcast, and I haven't been able to stop listening to it. The amount of free knowledge, value, and most of all, actionable steps in every episode is just insane. As a wedding photographer who just went full-time 6 months ago, this podcast has inspired, encouraged, and challenged me to discover the possibilities and put in the work. My favorite thing about the podcast is definitely the mindset shifts. Thank you so much, Jai. Patty, thank you so much for that review. I really do appreciate it. And I'm going to give you this month's free mentoring session with me one-on-one. Now, if you want to get a mentoring session with me that goes for 45 minutes, so I can look over your sales page or your price guide, or see where you're having some blocks in your business, look over your sales funnel, see how I can help you make some more money, then simply leave us a review and scratch my back and I'll scratch your back. Leave a review. We're looking to get 1,000 reviews. We're almost up to 400 at the moment, and every single one helps our podcast hit the charts and hit new people in the stratosphere of podcasting, which is what we are trying to do, grow the show. Now, I think it's time to get into today's episode. Today, we're going to dive into Instagram a little bit further. Now, I do a lot of episodes about Instagram, but as we know, that platform always changes. And so things are always changing, and we need to adapt and pivot and move with it. So today, I have Milou with me from Simply Media Advertising, and she's going to demystify a few things around, should we verify our Instagram accounts? Is Instagram still dead? Can we get any reach? Can we still make money from it? Is it still the best place to advertise? And we'll finish off with talking about, should we get someone in our corner and hire a done-for-you agency that can look after our accounts for us? So, hey, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you? Thank you so much for having me.
Really good to have you on the show. And I know right now Instagram's just rolled out a few updates, as they always do. So I wanted to get you on the show to get some expert advice and insight on what do we think of the brand new verification blue tick that everybody can get?
Yeah, so I think the Meta Verified is super interesting. Of course, it caused a huge conversation and debate around, the credibility now around people that are verified and like, does it still mean anything? But I have personally had a really good experience with it so far. First of all, of course, a lot of people, and you don't have to be a big account on Instagram to get people to duplicate your account, right? And they start scamming people, they pretend to be you. I've personally had that myself in the past, and I actually had people in some of the clients' DMs say, "Oh yeah, no, I know that account," and they tried to scam me, and it wasn't me.
Mm.
So like things like that, and it happens to a lot of people, even if you don't have a big audience. I think it's a huge plus for that because now they know, okay, there's only one account that's original, verified, and I can trust them.
Yeah, okay. Do you think it sort of takes away from the original creators that were able to earn getting a blue tick compared to today where we pay for it?
Yeah, I definitely think for, especially if I were to be someone that was verified before, I think it is a little bit frustrating more in terms of like, the meaning has just changed around it. It no longer means the same thing. There are obviously different benefits to it now, but it's no longer one of those things, oh, you earned it through media. And I know a lot of people even have spent thousands of dollars trying to get verified, right? Through agencies in the past.
Totally.
So that yeah, and now kind of looks funny since people can get access through the subscription.
It's funny how there are a lot of those agencies that help people get verified and things like that. And so with this new update, it kind of takes out a lot of businesses, really.
Right, and like I mean, I've had people come to me in the past too, like, "Oh, can you get us verified?" And I always tell them, like, it's not something we control. Of course, you can do a lot of media, but it's no guarantee to get someone verified, like in the past.
Mm.
Because I know people that have actually spent a ton and never got verified. So yeah, it's actually kind of interesting how that has shifted. And actually, on April Fools, I made a joke about how now we offer the service and can guarantee verification. Yeah,
You just have to pay Meta some money.
yeah.
Hey, can we break it down a little bit? So, can you tell me, has every account got the option to do this, whether you're a business account, creator account, or a personal account, and across the globe?
Yeah, so it's actually interesting. They originally started testing it actually in New Zealand and Australia, I believe. And then now it has rolled out to the US, and we have seen that every one of our clients have access to it. But it is for business and creators accounts. And what we've seen is that you do need to be a person in order to get verified. So what
Mm.
Meta will ask is they want a government ID, and you have to put your government name in your profile name. So, of course, a lot of people like to use SEO terms to get found through their profile, but you now will have to put your government name first, your full name. I originally didn't have my full name, but now I do, plus, social media marketing agency. And on top of that, that means that business, actual brands, they cannot get verified because they don't have a full name of, they're not going to put the CEO's name in there to then match it with an ID. So that's actually interesting that right now it's really only for personal brands.
Yeah, wow. Do you see any pros and cons to us having our full name on social media now and us like actually attaching ourselves like that out to the world?
Yeah, it's actually interesting. I had someone in my DM ask me if there's a way around it because in the past they've had a stalker and they are not comfortable putting their full government name in their profile. And I can see that. I'm sure there are multiple people that have
Totally.
certain, yeah, situations like that. So I think it's just a kink that Instagram's still working on. For now, I think that's the easiest way for them to verify someone based on their official government ID and the person and your name, because obviously, otherwise you can pretend to be someone else if you change the name
Mm.
after. So you can also not change your profile name once you get verified. You would have to cancel the subscription and then reapply.
You know, it's interesting. So a long time ago, a lot of celebrities, and even now, a lot of A-grade celebrities and stuff like Tom Cruise, for instance, none of those names are real names. So they create a stage name so that way they can keep their personal life separate to their work life and their business life. And even for myself, like my full government name isn't the name that I use for my podcast or for my social media presence, because I like to keep myself private as well. And so a lot of people, what I'm wondering is, will a lot of people change and put their full name out there and expose themselves like that? Or I wonder, for their government name, will a lot of people change their actual government name to the more fun names that they have online? Because I do believe as we're going into sort of like more of a metaverse and things like that, there's going to be more things that we have to attach our names to. And maybe people don't want to be John Smith online when they've got some fun name, you know?
Yeah, that's super interesting, actually. And I can see that happen because I think right now that is definitely an issue for people. I mean, in the beginning, I felt a little bit weird having my full name on there. Like I mentioned to you, I go by Mil, and now it says Milou and my last name. And like I noticed too in comments that now people start calling me Milou. And I actually made a tweet about that, you know, ever since I got verified, also people are calling me by my real name, which is kind of odd. But yeah.
It is strange, isn't it? Yeah, such a strange thing. And I think like for you and I both, like we grew up with social media and the internet. And so it's always been this uncharted place where you didn't ever have to put a government ID onto anything, actually. You know, as long as you've got an email address and a phone number and a name, and that's usually basically it. So everybody can go pretty under the radar with their personalities online. Whether that's a good thing or bad thing, I'm not too sure, but it is an interesting change to the landscape.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting point to think about.
So you said before you experienced some benefits from actually getting yourself verified. Can you tell me some of your own experiences?
Yeah, so it's actually interesting. One of the things that Meta says that one of the benefits that you get is that you get support from Meta. So you get access to a real human being. And of course, you know, we know how terrible Instagram and Facebook are with support, customer service. So it's one of the things I tested right away. I was like, okay, apparently I'm going to get a response within 2 hours, they said. So I submitted a request. It was actually a real request because I lost access to the collaboration feature, the collaboration tag. So I mentioned, hey, I don't have access. Can I get this back? What happens? And yeah, they did get back to me within 30 minutes explaining that, you know, it's still a testing feature and that sometimes they take it away and give it to someone else. So someone else has the opportunity. But what actually happened a couple of days after is that it came back. The feature came back. So that was very interesting. They did get back to me very quickly with a good answer. And the feature actually came back. So yeah, I was impressed, to say the least.
Is there any upside to any engagement? Has there been anyone that's reached out and talked to you about it? Is there any other kind of upsides that you found?
So in terms of reach, I think it's really hard to say. I do think if you're early on verified, of course, you're going to get noticed more because you have the little blue tag, right? So then people are going to see you more and you stand out a little bit. So maybe in terms of that, you'll see increased reach. And then I do notice there are still a lot of people on Instagram that are not familiar with Meta Verified, or maybe they're abroad. And some people that would like congratulate me for getting my verification. Well, of course, it's just a subscription. So I don't think everyone is aware of, you know, the whole subscription thing yet.
Yeah, I guess it's going to take a little while for everybody to sort of catch on and see what's going on.
It. Yeah.
Has there been any downsides at all?
For me personally, no. I do think maybe the smaller accounts, you know, maybe it is a bit looked down upon when you're a smaller account and get verified, that people feel like, you know, you think you're important enough to get verified or whatever. So there can be a bit of a stigma around it. But otherwise, so far, I don't see a downside, except that you have to pay, perhaps. Yeah,
it's interesting. Like, I think so often we think that we shouldn't have to pay for social media or for so many different things. I actually thought that for the longest time for YouTube. I was like, why do I have to pay, you know? And then you get more and more ads. And I realize it's like this mindset that we're being taught, but really like these are great services. And there's no reason why a couple of dollars per month for one of the platforms that I use the most to bring in the most amount of work for my business. For me, it's a no-brainer. Like I don't mind at all.
Same. Yeah, me, I'm exactly the same. I think it's different maybe if you use it for personal use, and you might not even get meta verified then. But yeah, for me, it's a no-brainer all the time I spend on Instagram.
Okay, can you tell me just how simple is it to go and get yourself verified?
For me, actually, it was very simple. It took literally 30 minutes. So I did put my full name and I ended it with social media marketing agency because you can add keywords after it as long as
Ah,
it
that's
has your full
awesome.
name. Yeah. And I uploaded my driver's license and it took maybe 30 minutes. And for most of
Wait,
our
can I ask you a
clients,
question? So when you
yeah.
put in your name plus the SEO words that you wanted to rank for, did you do that before you changed your name? So in the application process, or could you do
Yeah.
that after the fact?
No, you have to do it in the application process. You
Okay.
cannot
And you
change
can't
the
change
name
it.
at all. No.
Wow.
And
Okay.
you cannot even change your profile photo. I know a lot of people don't want to commit.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of people don't want to commit to the profile photo, but you cannot change it.
Wait,
Yeah,
could you use so your profile photo, does it have to be a photo of you?
yeah. So then
Wow.
again, they will match it. Yeah. So again, you can't do the logos, right? Like brands. Yeah.
Okay. So basically it's sort of cutting out a lot of phishing and a lot of fake accounts and
Yeah.
things like that. Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Okay, and so what was the next process? You uploaded your ID, you put in your new name, and so did you have to upload the profile photo there and then as well?
Yeah. If you want to change it before you apply, you can upload it then and there. I just kept mine the same. I'm not really planning on changing it either because people are familiar with it, and you simply submit it, and they tell you they will get back to you within 48 hours. And then if it doesn't go through, you won't get charged or anything. You can resubmit, yeah, your documents and stuff.
Mm, okay, simple as that.
Yeah, it's actually quite simple.
I got to say, I did apply for it straight away, and I did get rejected because I didn't have the same name,
The
and I
full
did make the
name.
decision of like, I don't think I'm ready to put my full name out into the world yet, and also no one
Yeah.
knows what it is, so it would
Oh, that's
instantly make me,
interesting.
yeah, it would instantly make me look like a fake account.
Yeah, like I wonder what people would think too. It's like, oh, who's this? Yeah, I can
Yeah,
totally see
completely
that.
different.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, let's shift gears a little bit. Do you think right now? I think one of the biggest conversations that we're having around Instagram that I get the most DMs right now on my Instagram account is all about engagement and how a lot of people have lost engagement. So there's a few things I actually want to ask. Do you, in your experience, know if a new account can be rewarded and grow faster, let's say to 100,000 followers, compared to an existing account that's been around for 10 years that has slowly got themselves there?
that's a tough question. To be honest, the thought of starting from scratch and building it up to 100K is giving me anxiety. Like it's just a ton of work, and I personally don't believe that it will get favoritism or go faster unless you have bought, followers and got yourself in trouble there. I can see people really getting stuck, but
Mm.
otherwise, yeah, I don't think one way or another is faster. Yeah.
What about if you deleted everything that's on your Instagram account currently? Because a lot of times, like if someone's had an account for 10 years, they've gone through a lot of ebbs and flows and changed things and different styles, and their photos look different compared to 5 years ago and things like that. And they just started out fresh with one simple message, one simple niche, one simple style, one simple voice. And they started from there to scale up.
I think that would be a different story because then you're actually pivoting, right? Maybe your audience is not at all interested in what you're about to do. And on top of that, they haven't heard from you in so long. So I feel like that one is very tricky. Then I perhaps would start over and just from scratch to build a new audience and make sure, they're interested, especially if you're very clear in your messaging after that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I have seen like a lot of people say Instagram's dead, but I've seen people grow, 100, 200, 300,000 followers within 1 year today,
Yeah.
just this year. And it's amazing that some people are seeing some massive decline, especially when they've been around for a long time on the platform and they've built 10,000 followers or whatever it is, where others have just come in from zero and have built themselves up and they've had a clear message and clear direction and they've been able to explode with engagement.
Yeah, I think also some niches grow faster than others, right? I
Totally.
will say, if you're talking about Instagram on Instagram, if you're talking about TikTok on TikTok, of course, you have a little bit of a step up from other people. I actually grew last year. That's when my personal brand really grew. And I'm always still focused on, growth and building the audience. And so, yeah, I can assure it's still very possible. But, Instagram is a beast. It requires a lot of output compared to other platforms. And yeah, I think that is the
They
biggest
make you
thing.
work hard, don't they?
Yes, they make you work so hard. You constantly have to, if anything, pivot, make your content better and better, give more and more and more. But yeah, when you understand that, I think that makes all the difference.
Mm. I actually like to share my thoughts on why I think people blow up and why people sort of with a big following for a long time kind of die out
I'd
a little bit.
love to hear it.
Well, so often they think it's the platform, but I actually think it's the content. And what I think
Me
is,
too. Me
yeah,
too.
so
Yeah.
what I think it is, it's like a lot of the times people they keep doing what got them to where they are today, and then they're
Yeah.
unwilling to change and adapt for what's happening tomorrow. And so the ones that sort of do start off and go, it's a brand new account, that's what gets you the engagement. It's like, no, you had a different mentality, mindset, and strategy, and you worked with what's working today instead of just posting, what worked in 2016 or whatever it is. So personally, that's what I see it is. And I always see when people are complaining about engagement, most of the time I look at their Instagram account and it looks like they're posting in 2016, like the same content, the same
Yeah.
hashtags, the same strategy is what used to work to get them their first bit of success. Would you agree on that?
100%. Like what we always say in the business too is like, what got you here won't get you there. So like I even noticed it too. My growth is not as rapid now than it was last year when I really started to build and build and build. But when my engagement is down, when my reach is down, I just look at myself in the mirror and look at my content, and I'm like, okay, well, this content sucks right now. No one wants to hear this right now.
Totally.
And I need to change something. I need to come up with something new. And I think Gary Vee talks about that a
I
lot.
was
That,
literally going to say, like, Gary Vee is a
yeah,
prime example of someone that adapts and changes so quickly because he'll create a
yeah,
whole wave of content and you're like, oh, that's Gary Vee's style. Everyone copies him. But then you'll watch him and he literally will pivot and change his content completely different in
yeah.
front of
And
everybody else. And it's like, whoa, that's amazing.
right. And he always says that too. Like our feeds are saturated. When you think you're being creative, you have to be even more creative. You have to stand out. And that's the thing. People start to do what works, what other people are doing. And at that
Totally
point, you're a follower and no
dilutes it.
longer a leader, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I actually think Gary Vee is the prime. I mean, that's why he's so big in doing everything that he does. But like, he's a prime example, and I just watch him over and over. Like, if you watch his content every 3 to 6 months, it completely changes the way that it looks, the way it's delivered, how fast the messaging is, how long or short the
Yeah.
videos are. Like, it's just so many things, and they're trialing so much stuff all the time. And if you rewind 3, 4 years ago, like all my friends were like, "Yeah, his feed's so ugly, though. It's never going to do well." And now all those same people are like basically copying him from like 2 years ago, trying to
Yeah.
catch up that same kind of output that he's creating.
Yeah. And then I also think with him, and I study him a lot too, and I love his work, that his output is high. And so the more
Huge.
yeah, when your output is high, you will figure out what works way faster. And so
Mm.
people, cannot stick to that frequency. They struggle to be consistent. So it takes a long time until you find that winning piece of content. And then by the time you find it, it already changes, right?
Neil, you've got a post on your Instagram account that says, and quote unquote, I don't know who needs to hear this, but if it was easy, everyone would do it. And the interesting thing about Instagram is that is the hard thing right now. It's not actually producing content anymore. We all have cameras. There's a million apps that does a million things that creates amazingly engaging content. But we all don't show up and post 5 reels a day, do we? And we just can't
No.
keep up that momentum. And for whatever reason, and whatever blocks that we have, mindset blocks, insecurities, all the struggles that we go through, we just stop ourselves from showing up over and over. So those that do show up over and over, I mean, they always get the big success. And for the rest of us,
Yeah.
including me, that just doesn't, you just don't see those same results.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it goes back to imperfect action. Too many people care about what other people think. They don't want to have a post that flops on their feed, right? So they rather
Totally.
archive it or delete it. I feel like for me, what really changed once I stopped caring, I don't care about the numbers. If a post flops or doesn't do well, I don't care. It just is what it is. And I put up the next post.
Yeah, I used to have a strategy where if I had a bad post, I would bury it with as many good posts as I could. So
I
it's just like
love
shit.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like if that one did bad, it's like better show up and post another one tomorrow or one this afternoon
Right.
or whenever it is. So I think that's so
Yeah.
important. And I think too often we are striving for perfection and we're just masking our own insecurities, and then we end up not posting anything. Where, like you were saying
Yeah.
before, quantity is the key because it allows you to learn the strategies that actually work for your audience and for your content.
Yeah, 100%. And of course, Instagram is a little bit of the perfectionism, the comparison game. I even notice it with clients that, they want that instant gratification. They want to see the
Mm.
numbers, they want to see followers, likes, even though it's not always the most important metric. So, yeah, it's actually quite interesting the effect it has.
Do you think right now, like Instagram is still a place where creators can make over six figures in their business? Or do you think it's a platform that now where we need to sort of look around and diversify where we are putting out content?
Yeah, I think it's still a huge platform, especially, for influencers. And if you want to monetize your audience, I think a lot of brands do look at Instagram, to promote. But I am a fan of diversifying. I am diversifying my own brand a lot. I spend a lot of my time right now on LinkedIn, which actually is really good for business. And the algorithm is the opposite, that you'll see it on Instagram.
Yeah, wow. So you get a lot of engagement on LinkedIn right now.
Yeah. So actually, I'm embarrassed to say it, but I probably reach more people with one post on LinkedIn than putting
Wow.
out one post on Instagram.
You know what's interesting? I think when someone finds like a platform that they know, this is myself for sure. Like I've known Instagram for 10 years. I've been on the platform. I've built multiple, six-figure accounts now that have grown and done big things. And it's hard sometimes to think like, oh, I could just go over to another platform because you don't want to like diversify your time too much when you know something that already works. But even like Gary Vee talks about, it's like look for the cheap audience, the cheap eyes, where
Yeah.
like you're getting the engagement. And now, so he's even talking lately, is like get back on Facebook and start posting Facebook reels because
Yeah.
there's
I saw
engagement
that.
there. Yeah. And so he's never caught up with like, so just a few years ago, he was like, Facebook's dead, don't post on it. And now he's going back and going like, now post on it. But he's never caught on the platform itself. It's always about the messaging and he
Yeah.
doesn't care where it goes, which I find really fascinating.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because he really chases the attention. Where is people's attention right now? That's where I'm
Yeah.
going to be so I can get in front of them. Yeah. And I follow him a lot too. And that's kind of what I am doing now. And especially when I diversify that, if you're on TikTok, I hope you see me on TikTok. And if you spend some time on Instagram later in the day, I want you to see me again. And then if you're on LinkedIn, then I just want to have people's attention wherever I can. And I noticed
Mm.
that too, that I have followers on Instagram that follow me on LinkedIn. It's not the same content. They get a little bit of a different angle to me, my business, and whatever I produce. So it's actually fascinating to see what that does when people follow you in different places.
How, like when you're talking about getting on to Instagram, like what kind of ratio do you think that you should be spending consuming the content that other people are making versus producing content for other people to view? Because I always talk about like we have two roles to be on Instagram is we're either a consumer or a producer. And so one is obviously going to bring us more value, but there's obviously value in both.
Yeah. So that's actually interesting. I always talk about that too. And I always say, make sure you don't consume more than you create. I think it's good to consume, especially when you're underthinking. I always say you consume, but when you're overthinking, that's when you need to produce. That's when you start writing. That's when, your content
Mm.
production comes. So I think, yeah, it's a well balanced, but what you see is people get caught up into consuming and not producing their own content, or they get stuck, they freeze, and then it becomes kind of useless, right? We get stuck into just being a consumer and scrolling. Yeah.
Do you think like if we catch ourselves just scrolling, for 30 minutes, and we're looking at every single people's reels, and then we see some puppy dog pictures and videos that makes us feel good. But then we see our competitors and they're doing stuff and it makes us feel shit about ourselves. And then we start
Right.
competing, comparing and stuff. Do you think there's like sort of a cutoff point where you need to say to yourself, wait a second, am I being a consumer right now, or should I produce? And then sort of get back into that chair and wake yourself up? Because obviously it's not something that just happens second nature to us. It's something that we have to be proactive about.
Yeah, you really have to create some awareness around it to see how and where you spend your time. I've noticed for myself, I am definitely a producer. Like I consume a little bit, but it tires me out too. Doing this every day, that at some point, you just get tired of consuming content. But yeah, setting awareness around it and even scrolling strategically. If you spend time on it to where, okay, I'm going to engage with accounts, maybe I want to see what competitors are doing just to have an idea. But setting intention, I think, is important so you don't fall, in the rabbit hole.
That's awesome. Do you think right now it's really important for us to be creating different types of content? I know some people are only doing reels right now because it's getting the most attention, but do you think, and I noticed on your Instagram account, you've got carousels, reels, posts, stories, a whole bunch of things?
Yeah, I'm always a fan of having a content strategy that is diverse, especially what I see with a lot of people that only dial into reels. Usually the people that teach reels do that, right? But I feel like it's very limiting because what if the reach goes down on your reels? Then what? And I think not everyone likes to consume video content. I personally don't want to consume video all the time. I rather see like a carousel that I can scroll through, and sometimes like a static post that's very simple and to the point. So I think you need to know the behavior of your audience. How do they want to consume your content? Do they want to listen to you talk? Do they not have time for that? So that's why I like to have a variety of content.
Love that. Hey, I'd actually like to ask you about, I know you got a company here called Simply Media Advertising, and you do done for you stuff where you look after people's Instagram accounts and help them create strategies and things like that. Can you tell me, why would somebody outsource their Instagram account, and what does it look like?
Yeah. So, I mean, the biggest reason is people don't want to do it, right? Or like it takes so much time. I mean, we already talked about how much time it takes to be consistent, produce content, how much Instagram asks from us. So that's why I've always offered a done for you service with our agency, because we can take that off people's hands, and so they don't have to worry about it. Yeah, so that's the biggest reason why we offer it, and get people
So
that
it's
are
kind of like
interested.
if you're a business owner, especially, it's taking back your time, using that leverage. And then, so it's one thing off your mind so you can put your attention and efforts elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly. You go back into, the CEO and focus on revenue generating tasks versus, playing on social media all day. On top of that, mental health, huge, right? A lot of people don't even like to spend time on social media because, it affects your mental health 100%. And they don't have the knowledge to actually, strategically show up to grow, but also to generate leads. And using Instagram as a, person versus marketing is obviously a whole different game.
Totally. So, what does it look like when somebody comes to you and says, hey, I am ready to get back my time. I am exhausted with following and chasing the algorithms and what I'm supposed to be doing and learning the next strategy and putting all my time into it. And I'm ready to be the business owner that I thought I was going to be when I first started this.
Yeah, so we first have an onboarding call where we really dig into their business, who they are, depending on whether they're a brand or a personal brand. So we get everything we need from them. I am personally the strategist, so I create a full custom in-depth strategy on their target audience, how the plan, how are we going to achieve our goals, what are our goals, and the content strategy, how are we going to go about this. So it's very customized and in-depth. And we always do strategy first. So it's not that you sign with us and we start posting the next day. Then we start producing your content from reels to static, carousels. We provide our clients with reels reports, even if they are a personal brand, so they can show up on camera. We will tell them exactly what to do, what audios to use. So we can then start using that footage, editing footage,
Awesome.
yeah, to include in the content. And it's about a month of onboarding. And then we start rolling and take everything off their plate. And then it's just a easy ride for them.
So when you're creating reels and things like that for people, is a lot of this stuff like generated through Canva or stuff like that? Or do you actually talk to the person? So say, for instance, if it was me, would you talk to me and say, okay, so your followers are looking for this Jai. Could you please record a couple of videos on your phone regarding that so we can like process it, put some captions in and make it a little bit more hooky?
Yeah, 100%. So it is custom. It's not, unless someone really doesn't want to show up, then we
Yeah.
have to get creative, get stock footage and stuff like that. But otherwise, a Reels report has like around 8 Reels ideas, and most of them include, the owner showing up, talking about a frequently asked question. Maybe it's a question that was submitted in a story that we want to address. Those are definitely things that we want to do. And again, people connect with people. So those are usually the most effective too. Yeah.
That's cool. So even though, for instance, if I outsourced my account to you, it would still feel like everyone's following me because you're putting my personality out there to the world and it's still me showing up on videos and things like that.
Yeah, 100%. I always tell people, if people think that you outsource your account or someone else is managing it, then we're not doing our job, because we 100% do not want people to think that someone is just running the account.
Love that so much. Do you have any tips on when someone should know when it's time for them to outsource their accounts? Like, do they have to have a certain amount of money? Do they have to have a certain amount of time? Do they have to have a certain amount of, I guess, confidence to let go of some control?
Yeah, those are all actually all good reasons. Definitely, you want to have a budget, especially, you're hiring a team professionally versus, a lot of people like to hire a solopreneur social media manager, which is okay. But there are so many roles that go into managing social media that often it is not sustainable for one person to do it all. Do the copy, do the video editing, do the design, do the engagement. That's why, we are an agency. So yeah, budget is huge. Having your branding, knowing your branding, so know who your target audience is. Have your brand voice and things like that, because it's not for a social media manager to decide who you should target, right? So that is huge. And yeah, like it is a hands-off service. So while you do get to approve, you get to submit edits, you do want to be ready to say, okay, I'm ready to trust the team, ready to trust the professional, because otherwise it will probably not be worth your investment if you're still trying to lead, the entire strategy.
Awesome. And just last question, what niches have you worked with and what kind of results have you seen?
Yeah, so we actually have worked with a bunch of different niches. We have several personal brands and corporate brands as well. So we have actually a lot of different types. Yeah, anywhere from hospitality to wellness. Most are women owned. So it's one of my passions. And we have several good results where we generated leads for clients that were 60 days in. Those were in the beauty industry, where we go heavy on engagement outreach, for example. If they really need to generate leads, we have seen a lot of engagement increases, especially when in the first month of working with us, because also there's a huge difference between them running their own account versus the whole team in there engaging, showing up. Yeah, so those are the types of results we typically see.
I love that. Have you got any last words of wisdom for the entrepreneur that's out there right now, that's wearing all the hats and they are got everything on their plate and they're just trying to figure it? They're listening to another podcast episode, trying to figure out what they should do, what decisions should they make on their Instagram account, and they want to get back their life, basically.
Okay, yeah. So I would suggest, when you're ready, of course, outsource. But if you're not ready yet, just take action, show up. It doesn't have to be perfect. As long as you're showing up for your brand, for yourself, you can slowly find your way and stay motivated, because it is a hard game. So if you're not growing quickly, just know you're not alone. It is a long-term thing that you need to invest your time in.
I love that so much. And where can we connect with you if you want to come over and say hello?
Yeah, so Instagram is a great place to connect with me under Simply Media Advertising. And media and advertising actually share the A. So there's only one A. And it's a verified account, so you can't miss me.
Thank you so much for giving out all these tips and everything. I know in a few months, like things are going to change again. So it's always really important
Yeah.
that we do dive in and we keep current and make sure that we are looking around the digital landscape and how trends are changing, how the platform's changing, and how we can keep showing up and being the best version of ourselves. So I appreciate you being on the show with us and sharing all your expert knowledge.
Yeah, thank you so much. I had so much fun. So I hope it was helpful for everyone.
Hey, Make Your Breakers. Want to streamline your audible dose of inspiration, motivation, and creative biz insights with a custom playlist made just for you? Was that a yes, please? Kicking our arses into gear, sifting through all of Make Your Breaks episodes to date. Yep, we're talking all 200 plus episodes. We've meticulously curated some banging playlists just for you. We want to help you to make that break ASAP. So whether you're a newbie or have listened to every episode a million times, jump into the show notes and check out the little something we whipped up to generate your very own custom playlist.